And we are back at it again with the PickFu Podcast, coming to you live stream, no pre-recording here, live stream every Thursday, noon Eastern time, with a guest, co-host, whatever you want to call it. And look who we have here. Look who we have here. Emma from Marketing by Emma. Hey, Emma, how are you?
Hey, John. I'm great and excited to be here with you today.
It's loads of fun. I mean, you're on the list of guests where you come on here. We're known to PickFu poll. We're known to tear apart listings. We're known to do handstands. I'm just kidding. No, you don't do
handstands. You did not prepare me for acrobatics.
And go. No. And I know that you're having, we just talked about it before we went live, like your right eye is bothering you. My right eye is bothering me too. There is something out there. So I don't know, guys, if you're watching this and your right eye is bothering you, drop a comment below because we want to know.
Hopefully nobody else comments because hopefully everybody's eyes are in pristine condition.
2020. Yeah, I was driving the kids to school today and I'm like, I'd stop and drop. They must have looked at me like I had like it's 7 heads. Like, what's going on with this guy? But Emma, where are you located again? I forgot to ask you.
I am in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did I think you were in the New York area? I don't know. Maybe it's because I saw you in New York and just assumed. I don't know.
Probably that. I've never been an East Coaster. I'm from the Midwest. Originally, I'm from Missouri, and I've lived a bunch of other places in between, but moved out to Las Vegas 2.5 years ago and absolutely love it out here.
I'm very jealous. I'll be honest with you. Lots of times I speak to people and they're like, oh, you live in New York City? Oh, I would love that. That's the dream. I'm like, let's trade dreams. Where's your dream taking? Because my dream is not this. I'm born and raised here all my life. And for me, I just like, okay, so going from Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. That's the Ozarks, right?
So the Ozarks is southern Missouri. I grew up in Columbia, which is a college town. So it's very quintessential U.S. American college town vibes, similar to like a Boulder, Colorado, or Madison, Wisconsin, or Ann Arbor, Michigan, and right in the middle of the state in between St. Louis and Kansas City. So very peaceful, very pretty, very academic, and a nice place to live. But we were looking for something else.
So nothing like I've seen on the Ozarks, the show, then, right? You don't have any sort of drug cartel running schemes by there.
Totally, everywhere has their drug cartel, their local drug cartel. I frankly, I have not watched Ozark. It seems too stressful for my TV viewing appetite. But
so, what made you go to Vegas? Like, why? Like, you're prime for any show, conference, event because they all pretty much happen there, right? But like, why Vegas of everything?
Well, that was one appeal for sure. The fact that there is so much that's always happening here business wise. We made a list, my husband / business partner, Eris, and I, of the things that we were looking for in a place. And Vegas it has everything to offer of a world-class city, but it's smaller and easier. So we have all of the entertainment, all of the food, all of the things going on. If you're ever bored here, then you're just being lazy because there's truly no excuse. On any given day, you have a choice probably of 50 different things that you could do. And so the fact that there was all of that to offer, there's a very large entrepreneurial community. It's easy to travel in and out of. There's beautiful scenery in every direction. And I think my favorite thing of all is that it's really a city of transplants. And so people here are really eager and interested in meeting new people and doing things and making friends, that's one of the challenging pieces of moving to a new place when you're an adult is a lot of times you find yourself in situations where everybody already has their pods, their groups, and maybe they'll kind of welcome you in, but you'll never truly feel like you're part of the inner circle. And so that's just been a really amazing, unexpected benefit of moving here is there's just a lot more openness and welcoming attitude of
that's cool.
People that live here.
So like I can't relate because I've born and raised in New York City, but I moved upstate right before I started college, which was upstate New York. Not like SUNY, Albany, or anything cool like that. It was just a Catholic college, super boring. But for my senior year of high school, I moved out of my all boys Catholic. There's a fly around here that's distracting me, and it's super warm over here, so I don't know why. But flies' lifespans, I think, are only 3 days, so your days are numbered, sir. But I went from an all boys Catholic high school for 3 years. Prior to that, all Catholic school, whatever. To my senior year, I moved upstate, and I had to go to another Catholic school, but it was the only Catholic school in Orange County, upstate New York, and it was co-ed. Okay. So for me, I wasn't used to being around girls, like in school setting, you know what I mean? So I was just like, old boys school, they're gross. They're just like spitting on the floor. I don't care what they look like. And I'm going there. And just like when you had talked about when already everyone has their established groups and stuff, imagine going into your senior year of high school and seeing girls in school for the first time. I was walking around and I was like, I don't belong here. It was literally something like out of like a teen rom-com kind of movie. Like I never had lockers. Like my school was just like, take your books and go. It's New York City. We have no room for anything, you know? And they were like lockers and decorated. I'm like, what is this? It was very much like Stepford Wives, but like Stepford high school children. Like that's what it felt like to me. So
that sounds miserable.
Oh yeah, jump in the time machine to go back to 2001, John. That's when I graduated high school. He wasn't fun, John. I'll tell you that much. But I know that you're very big into Amazon, as we all are, right? Amongst other things. What have you noticed? And then we're going to get into some examples and some cool stuff, right? But what have you noticed? A lot of people are gearing up for Q3 and obviously Q4. What have you noticed has been like a pivoting kind of change with what you've seen at the beginning of the year to now with the landscape of Amazon? Like, has anything really changed on your end as far as your strategy for your clients and that kind of stuff? Or is it same as it was in January?
As far as I think the environment of selling on Amazon is a little bit different. I think that this is a hard year for a lot of people. And business and just money is a little bit tighter and things are more expensive and, all of that, which doesn't really influence how we approach what we're doing. Obviously, I think one of the biggest topics of conversation right now in the Amazon listing creation / optimization space is the introduction of Rufus and semantic SEO and generative AI and how that is influencing the way that we are approaching the content creation. And frankly, what's a little bit funny to me about this conversation, and maybe I'm going to ruffle some feathers by saying this, but everybody is acting like there's now this brand new approach. Like suddenly now you have to make sure to like address people's questions and make sure that like they truly understand things. And in my mind, I'm thinking, was that not what we were supposed to be doing anyways? Like, I feel like in some ways this is almost an admission that up until this point, the focus had been squarely on just keyword stuffing and really the back-end optimization, and that people were neglecting the customer and the conversion aspect of things. And now, because of the way that it seems that SEO is shifting, that's now forcing people to be putting a focus on things that, from my perspective, have been best practices and absolutely necessary for a long time. So
it's like, and I get that. And I'm gonna pull up an example because this is something I think I put up a video yesterday or the day before about how I kind of broke Rufus, right? Because did you see that video or no?
I did not.
Yeah. So there's
poor Rufus. He's gonna have to go to the vet.
Yeah, I'm Team Cosmo. That's my dog over here. He's around here somewhere. Funny enough, though, Cosmo have you heard of the phrase Cosmo in Amazon with the LLM? So apparently it's CLLM SEO. Have you heard that acronym before?
No.
So it's contextual large language model SEO.
Okay.
So that's and I'll send you the PDF on it. Anyone that's watching, you want to see the PDF? That's the stuff on it, not from us, but from Amazon or from someone. Happy to share it. But it's basically what you're putting in. So here's the thing, right? So everyone's rah Rufus. It's cool. It's great. It's cool until it's adopted by the masses, right? Like people are still going to the search and typing in what they want and then scrolling. I don't have access to Rufus on my mobile device. You can access it, and I'll show. Actually, let me just jump to my screen right now, and we'll take a look. Did I not do that right? I hit the wrong keyboard. Here we go. So we're looking at Emma Apple Pencil tips because my wonderful, wonderful, darling children smashed my second generation Apple Pencil into the iPad as if they were in The Shining and just or Psycho.
They think you're on too much electronics too much, John, and they were trying to, teach you that you need a little bit less screen time.
We'll go with that. Not that they just wanted to break my stuff and say, haha. So apparently I thought it was totally shot, but these things screw off and you can buy replacement tips. So I said to my wife, just go and buy some replacement tips for me, please. And she said, okay, which ones do I buy? And I was like, just buy the ones that are the cheapest and make the most sense. Well, here we have Apple Pencil tips right here. And if you notice, I use Arc browser. Are you familiar with Arc at all, or?
Arc,
ARC.
No.
Yeah, I'm officially a sponsor of Arc. This podcast is. I'm just kidding. No, I always talk about Arc to ad nauseum because it's built on Chromium, so it's basically Chrome but better. So you could have all your Chrome extensions, all that kind of stuff. But the reason I mention that is because you see no brand ads, no sponsored ads. It comes with ad blocker right out of the box.
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
It's not something you have to enable. So I think it's super important. That's another thing I want to ask you too after this is if the talk track and landscape is going towards more of this because privacy is paramount and everyone really wants to focus on no ads and stuff like that. From a desktop experience, right? What happens if I'm reliant on those ads over here? Where do I pivot, right? And I'm not saying like you're the ads guru by chance, right? But understanding that as you shop, you can really control that in the Amazon mobile app, which is where I typically shop. How about you? Do you typically buy things on the desktop or are you buying on the mobile?
I almost always buy things on desktop. I will sometimes add things to my cart on mobile, but I don't know. For most things, I don't really like doing it on my phone. Like
interesting. Okay.
Almost everything I prefer to do on my computer. I feel like I type faster. I can see things better. I like to look at things in a way that I feel like is not as comfortable to do on the app. So maybe if I'm repurchasing something that I've bought previously, I would do it on the app, but probably otherwise I would buy on desktop. But I think I'm an anomaly in almost all of my, I've seen behind the curtains too when it comes to marketing and everything. And so I don't at all think of myself as a typical buyer.
Yeah. So I'm the opposite. Even though I'm on my desktop, I always just saw Casey freaking loves Arc browser. Yeah. Shout out Arc browser. I'm on the opposite end. I buy almost everything on mobile. For me, I'm always logged into, I'm not logged into my Amazon account on here because I'm always showing my screen on calls, demos, stuff like that. And I hate logging in, logging out. So I've just become second nature to keeping it on my phone. But like my wife, for example, she doesn't even own a computer. She doesn't own an iPad. She only has her phone. So that's her sole communication, her sole purchasing stuff, right? So I always ask people like, hey, she's going to be targeted by those ads versus me. Even if I was shopping on my desktop, it's good for brands that I shop on my phone because I can't block ads in the Amazon iOS app, right? Because it's native. But if I was to shop on desktop, I'm never going to see these kind of ads. Anyway, one thing I pointed out to you before the call too is that these color changes on these overall pick and popular brand pick, these used to be orange, right? Yeah. So I think that this is it used to be kind of a cool thing because it was like, oh, you're getting a better CTR because it's a better call out. People are going to lean towards that because they're giving more direction to it. But it looks like Amazon is, like we said, one of the things they're testing. It may go away, it may not, but it's kind of giving a little bit more leverage to the underdog per se. I don't know, but anyway,
I'm curious. Have you seen if it's across categories?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I did see it in supplements, but let me take a look over here. So if I type in men's supplements,
because I'm noticing, for some reason I searched dental floss just now, and the overall pick is black or like a dark blue, and then the best seller is orange.
So maybe maybe a wacky thing Amazon's rolling out or even doing their own A/B testing on. Because for me, even in like the supplement area, it's still coming up with this kind of see-through, transparent kind of call out.
Or I wonder if that's even something to do with your browser.
Well, now you got me thinking. So, so I'll go over here to
Apple pen tip, right?
Apple pencil tips. So see, now we got some.
Mine are black.
Interesting. Wait a minute. I don't know about this now. Well, now I want to try another browser. Well, now you got me thinking, and let's open good old-fashioned Safari. But
that's interesting. If it is able to remove those colors, it's almost signaling to me that your browser is reading those badges as an advertisement in some ways and is trying to minimize them, which is interesting.
Let's take a look here and see. No, Safari is doing it in clear. Bizarre. And the interesting thing too with Safari's blocking ads too. And I didn't even enable that. Wow. I don't even know how Safari's blocking ads. So again, people that aren't in Team Chrome, if you're using Apple out of the box products, it looks like it's blocking ads. So PPC agencies out there, what are we doing? But let's go back to this, for example, right? So take away the overall pick, the popular brand pick, which is kind of weird because it's like, do you see on your end when this is even kind of enabled? Like this is like a pro? Because when someone says overall pick and popular brand pick, like what's the difference? Like I know it says, rated 4 stars, purchased often, returned infrequently, but
it's saying the exact same thing as the overall pick. Yeah. So it's almost like you get the silver medal.
But, it says brand pick. Does that mean it's specifically for this brand? This is the most popular thing? Because if that's the case, I don't care.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It says this brand is popular with other customers and this product is.
Okay, so then it's the popular brand pick, meaning this is the best one. But outside this one, out of all the other brands, this is the overall best one. I don't know.
I guess this company is a winner, and it looks like they make accessories for Apple, Fitbit, Garmin, and Samsung.
Yeah.
So they're probably leveraging the fact that they make frequently purchased replacement item for all of these big brands. And then maybe that allows them to have more volume than even like Apple would, but I'm not sure. Sure.
But let's go into this. So it's interesting. So I told my wife, go ahead and purchase the cheapest one, just because I don't care for something like this. But when you come down here, right, between $579 and $799, 3K sold, 4K sold, huge amount of reviews. Not a huge amount of reviews, right? Which means this is probably a newer kid on the block, right?
Yeah.
But they're stealing a lot of market share for being less reviews and selling 3K plus. They're probably newer, kind of coming out of the gate. But what I find interesting is they're showing. If I just took this image here and said, "What is this?"
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not going to say what I think it looks like.
We're a family show. Yes. We're a family show. And, you can tell me after the recording, and we can talk about that. But then down here, it has a box that says replacement tips. Yeah. I always tell people, your main hero image has to stand alone. It has to pretend you have no title, no bullet points. The title, the bullet points is for SEO and for validation for what someone's looking at. But what they're really going to look at is this right here. This could look like, you know what it almost kind of looks like in a PG way? Those little like air fresheners that you pop open and you put them around your house.
Yeah. Or like little trees on like a Christmas.
Yeah.
What do you call those displays? That's a Catholic thing, I think.
Well, I'm Catholic, so I'm trying to figure out now what. Like
you know what I'm talking about?
Like a manger scene?
Sure.
Nativity.
Nativity. That's
Nativity. It. Okay, cool. I'll say it later. Anyway, but when I come to this, I really feel like my wife purchased this one based on price, but also if I didn't tell her price, she would know that this is replacement tips.
Yeah,
because that's what I told her to search for. Right. My wife is like my little assistant that just goes and buys stuff for me because I'm like, I don't know. But moreover, it actually has two different styles. So it has a regular kind of one and it has more of a precision one. So I don't see any reason why I would pay more to get the same thing, but maybe a different style or option. But let's click into this one because I want.
Interesting too, because I feel like that picture of the main image of this one that we just clicked into obviously is very Apple inspired. With the box itself, that sleek, white, thick cardboard looking box. And so I think if people are looking for an Apple alternative, this still gives a little bit more of that prestige impression and feel than that other picture of those 4 tips just all kind of jammed together.
Yeah, even their presentation, like when you actually get it, it's very Apple-esque, like it's in this foam and stuff like that, which I would not expect.
Borrowing from the Apple aesthetic.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect for $5.79. I'll be quite honest with you. I thought it was going to come in like a poly bag and just thrown in a mailer, but kudos to them for that kind of stuff, right? But when you come over here from an SEO perspective, because this is your wheelhouse, right? When it comes down to crafting titles, bullet points, copy, this is your jam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when you look at something like this, right? One thing I didn't know is nibs. I've never heard that phrase before, right? So if a client came to you, like, what does your process or flow look like when you're looking to say, okay, how can we make this better? How can we optimize, your bullet points outside of just stuffing keywords in there that really make no sense just for the sake of stuffing them in there? You know what I mean? Like what makes this a good title versus not? Because I know that recently it's changed with Amazon, and correct me if I'm speaking out of turn or place, but are they removing brand names from the beginning of the title?
I've been seeing that.
Okay. So how does that work for like SEO and title writing and stuff like that? Like what's the most important thing to look at? Like, for example, 0.78 millimeters longer tips, is that really relevant and important as much as nibs or, something like the 4-pack, like, or is the 4-pack more of a graphic that you'd want to put over here on the box? Like taking a look at this one over here, what makes sense and what doesn't?
Well, I'm not able to fully answer that without a few pieces of information. Like I can definitely critique this from just some things that I either see or don't see that I think would make this better. But ultimately, anytime you're creating any part of the listing, you want to make sure that you've done your keyword research and you've done all of your other research that you need to do. And so I'm going in a little bit blindly because I don't know what the target keywords are, and I don't really know this space that well.
Yeah, just high level.
What's a little bit complicated about this kind of product is it's different than a lot of other items where there's a strong need to create a distinct brand as a way of leveraging why you're better than the alternatives. And this is a little bit harder because in some ways this is a knockoff, which is kind of doing a lot of the things that I tend to discourage people from. But I think if you're selling something this specific, then it probably is working in their favor to be copying in this way. So I guess I will just caveat this whole conversation with that, which is that I think that this is going counter to almost all of the advice that I would always give. But one thing that stands out to me when I look at this title is it really doesn't make it clear that there are two kinds of tips here.
Yes.
And that's quite surprising and problematic because not everybody is going to be looking closely at the main image in that way. And especially if you're on a mobile device and the detail isn't as clear, that's something that you could very easily miss, but that is clearly a distinct differentiation and either advantage or not, depending on what it is that you are wanting to do with these tips. And so perhaps you have no use for half of them, in which case this isn't going to be a great selection for you. So I think that you need to make that much clearer. There's also this like comma and then not even a space after the comma between phrases. So it just ends up being this very long list of words that is quite hard to parse apart for somebody that's trying to read this. Like just trying to wrap your mind around it is very difficult.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that, they're putting in keywords. And by the way, you said, the tools, like what's your typical tech stack or tools look like for on your end? Like, what do you typically use for tools for keyword research?
For keyword research, we use Data Dive and Helium 10.
Okay, cool. I see a lot of people getting more into Data Dive. Like, how's your experience with Data Dive been? Because a lot more people seem to be adopting it.
I like Data Dive for certain things, but there are some pretty big limitations to it. So I think it makes it helpful when you're doing your preliminary research and kind of speeding up the process of identifying those valuable keywords. It's also helpful when it comes to creating certain pieces of the content and knowing exactly what keywords you've used and not. The limitation is that it's not very customizable. And a lot of times products are not as straightforward as as sort of single tracked as what you're able to pull in keyword wise. So let's say that you are selling a face cream and your face cream has some special ingredients that are unique to all of your other competitors. You're not going to be able to necessarily pull in a list of those ingredient specific keywords. And so that's why really for every product that we're optimizing, we always do supplementary keyword research in Helium 10 to make sure that we really have a solid list that's covering all the bases and all the nuances of a particular item.
That makes sense. And then I'm going to look at the bullet points in a second here too. But like, what is? And then I want to show you the cool thing that I found with Rufus, because you can access it in desktop by just going to questions, and then if you type anything in the questions over there, then it starts to do that kind of stuff. But when it comes to bullet points, right, from an SEO perspective, from you as the guru, right, like, is there a certain hard line of like best practices and like, are you camp emoji, camp no emoji? Are you camp vertical pipes, parentheses, brackets, or none of that, and it's purely content? Like, where do you sit in that kind of space?
No emojis. I'm a rule follower. And so if Amazon says they don't want something, then I believe it. Personally, it's not worth the risk, especially for something like an emoji. Similarly with the all caps in the bullets, Amazon has also been clear they don't want to see that. I think that the parentheses are very strange looking, and I don't like that. I'm just a title case header and then a N dash, which is a sort of like medium size length dash. Okay. So there's that header has a distinction. I mean, immediately from looking at these bullet points, they are far too long. And they just look very keyword stuffed and really I mean, I see something like this and I just get overwhelmed by content in a way that like it's very off-putting for me.
So technically more from what I'm hearing, right? Because from my experience coming from an agency space, it's almost like use up all the space, put everything you need in there, but make it sound organic, make it readable, but you want to take advantage of all that space. From what you're saying, right? Don't do that, but focus more on the quality. Is that kind of the idea?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we don't have a shortage of space for keywords with an Amazon listing. There are plenty of places that we can incorporate keywords. And so the bullets on desktop hold a pretty prominent place on the product listing, less so on mobile. And they're not functional when they're this long. So if the ultimate goal is to distill the important pieces of information that a customer needs to know in order to determine if this item is a good fit for what they're searching for or not, those bullet points aren't achieving that.
If you look at something like Apple, now I think we went to the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and I mean, Apple is unique in that
it's Apple.
They can get away with things that probably almost no one else can.
Sure.
And what's also unique about Apple is that Apple customers oftentimes just want everything Apple. Yeah. And they do have a higher threshold of what they're willing to pay price-wise for that. Like, I would be interested to know what the breakdown is with Apple customers looking for replacement parts for their Apple items versus Android or PC customers looking for replacement parts. And my gut is that there would be a pretty different ratio of brand loyalists on the Apple side versus the PC/Android side.
So I love my Apple. Please don't take my Apple away from me. I buy
exactly.
Everything I have is Apple, and I want to get. Even my earbuds that I've adopted because I am team wired headset now after spending at least $400 on AirPod Pros twice losing them and them going dead when I need them. Even these are Apple for $19. So I am very, very deeply ingrained in the Apple ecosystem. So except for stuff like this, except for things like I can't see myself spending, I think it was $20, $18 versus $5. Something like this that's very kind of throwaway and not important, and the quality, as long as it works, I don't really care. If I have to buy this 3 times over in the life of that pencil, it's still cheaper than buying it from Apple. But I thought something really interesting was, this is like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Like this one was not too much. This one was way too much. But this guy right in the middle of the price point, in the middle of the search volume, I think has that more sweet spot, or is it still too short, you think? I mean, obviously it's all subjective.
Well, I mean, in this case, this is just keywords. So it's a little bit better in that it's not overdoing it.
Yeah.
But it's not super
good.
Yeah.
Good. So let me go to this, right? Because I want to show you this something really cool. But so we talked about title, we talked about bullet points, right? When I get down, they have
premium A+.
They have premium A+.
Have a brand story here.
There's no brand story, and usually that's the first thing I kind of hit, because from your experience, people often think the brand story module is not important. I tell people all the time, it is super important. If you're a brand, that's your space to say your story, who you are, why you do what you do. But outside of the emotional connection, whatever it is, pain points, showing your entire collection in one snapshot that can scroll up to, like, I think 19 modules or something like that. It also is room for SEO and alt text and crawlable text, right? So are you a fan of it? I'm assuming yes. That was a loaded question.
Absolutely. Anytime you have opportunity to take up more real estate on the page, why would you pass that up? And then it's not just simply real estate for the sake of real estate, but as you mentioned, there's the SEO aspect, there's the brand building aspect, and there's also an opportunity to cross promote and upsell other items in your catalog. So there are so many functions that the brand story covers. And if you've already gone to the trouble of creating premium A+ content, then you had to have created a brand story. So maybe they just didn't deploy it on this particular listing. But yeah, absolutely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes people think, and tell me if you have this experience, where I only have 2 items. I don't need a brand story because I don't have enough content to put in there. So for example, if someone just had 2 supplements, they're going to say, how many times can I show the same supplement over and over? But what I tell them is, think of those modules. You can put pictures in there, right, with your ICP and your avatar, and talking about the benefits, not the features of better living, well-being, all this other kind of stuff. So if you're a supplement, a lot of times you find it hard to create or showcase more, because like, how many times can I show the pill? How many times can I show the drink? How many times can I show the powder? But I think if you lean into more of the lifestyle shots with typography on top of them, that speaks very clearly to why someone would want to buy you, and tell that story through that carousel, you're getting the added benefit of the emotional and compelling hook. But then that's more alt text. That's more crawlable text for SEO. So that brings me to another question I want to ask a guru like yourself. With alt text, how do you approach that, right? I've heard from working at agencies before, typos, misspelling, Spanish phrases, these are all good things to put in alt text, not customer facing, but good in alt text because it does index for SEO. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think there's a really important consideration to be taking with alt text or image keywords, as Amazon calls it, which is that the primary function of this field is to make the imagery accessible for the visually impaired, so that when somebody is using a screen reading device to navigate a website, that they can understand what is being presented there. And those people are potential customers. So if you are simply keyword stuffing those fields, you are not only blocking the opportunity with those potential customers, but you're also, legally, websites have to be enabled for accessibility for people with disabilities. And so there is a legal aspect to that as well. Now, I haven't heard anything about Amazon enforcing it one way or the other, but they absolutely could, because even small websites find themselves at times in problematic legal situations because of not being accessible. So that is very important. And just using these fields to keyword stuff is, I would even argue, a little bit ethically questionable. Again, I feel like I'm being a bit provocative with some of my opinions.
No, that's okay, because I've always felt myself, that was always a question of mine, where I would always like, it's meant for this. How often is it actually being used for that? Probably not as much as you may think, but the times that someone does use it for that, for visually impaired and stuff like that, God help these poor people that are clicking on Amazon listings where it's reading it to them because they can't see it, and it's just rattling off nonsense where they're just like, forget it, right? It's probably just like, Apple Pencil, Apple Pencil tippies, Apple, it's just going to be stuffed, and they're just going to not convert, right?
Well, and then what happens when Amazon suddenly finds themselves with a lawsuit on their hands? And then what do they do in those situations? Because we've seen this in the past, is they just immediately pass over the onus and the responsibility onto the sellers. So from covering those bases, I think it's important. From making sure that you are capitalizing on every potential sale opportunity, it's important. And then you can still use those fields for SEO. It's just, you want to still be describing the image that is being shown. So you don't have to have a complete sentence. You don't have to say, this is a photo of. You describe the scene, you incorporate a keyword. Sometimes you can even still use some of those more awkward keywords if you find a way to fit it in, and the phrase still makes sense. But just simply shoving in a bunch of keywords there, I think, is not long-term big picture thinking.
Scalable. No, I totally get that. That makes sense. But let's take a look at this one, right? This is not from the brand story module, but this is just from an image inside the A+. The alt text is 2. Right? So
I can't even read anything that's too tiny for
no, well, I'm just saying it's 2. It just says the number 2.
Yeah.
So that's, talking about going from keyword stuffing to just putting the number 2, that's not doing anything for you either. Right.
Yeah, it seems like somebody probably just typed something so that they could move on to the next.
Just name the image. Exactly. Name the image something to keep on going with it. Right.
Yeah.
But then also, what do you see? And again, I know we have different opinions on this, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll ruffle my feathers, but that's okay. Oh, I didn't know this could fit on other stuff. Oh no. Not like I have it, but when you come down to something like this is a $5 product, right? This is typically for these kind of items. I'm not going below the fold. I'm not going to the A+. I'm not going to the brand story module. I'm not coming down here. I'm not doing the questions. I'm definitely not going if they have a carousel, which they do. I'm not doing that, right? That being said, I'm not saying that all people won't go down there, but do you find it where certain items in certain categories at certain price points warrant and or require you to be doing these practices versus some that don't?
So an important point that I want to call out, which is that, and I'm not putting you on the spot, John, but I just think that this is a great opportunity to just have a conversation about this, which is oftentimes we can take our behavior as a customer and extrapolate that onto assuming that that's how everybody operates. And that can be problematic because that's not always the case. And the fact is that there are a lot of different kinds of customers. And so one of the things that I notice when I look at that listing that is unique about it, and it's surprising that the content in the title and the bullets is so bad, because I actually think their imagery looks, at least from the small version that I'm seeing on your screen and my screen, looks decent. And what they seem to really be emphasizing is that these are great tips for artists. They have all these images, even if you scroll down more, of people doing sketch kinds of artistry with these. And so I think that speaks to perhaps some more specific needs and probably why they have that other kind of tip, which they briefly call out at the top, but they don't really do enough from my perspective. Again, just from a very surface level glance of like, here they're showing the hours and others, and it's not clear to me what I think it's thinner or smoother, but I'm not. It
looks like it's more precision versus more broad stroke and more smooth versus choppy.
Yeah, but that's where some text would be helpful.
Yeah.
From my viewing. So there's that element, but there's also something that anytime you're buying an item that needs to be compatible with something else, like even though this says in the title, Apple replacement tips, a lot of people are going to want to verify that that's the case. And so they're going to want to make sure, they're going to want to see either like a picture of the thing that they're using or something that explicitly says this works with your thing. Because if not, then you're sort of left like, oh, I think that this is what I need, but then you get it home and it's not. And maybe this is a tool that you use for work. And so there's some extra need at getting it right the first time. And so that's where, like, for example, this banner right here that you're showing is really helpful because it's not just saying it, it's showing it fits on this, it fits on this, it fits on this.
Yeah.
And then lastly, again, thinking about the device that people are on, because the A+ content shows up much earlier on mobile than it does on the desktop. And so the order of things is going to be different. And so you're going to see this A+ content before bullets on mobile. And so that's also important to consider.
Yeah. So I agree. I definitely think this image. So I always tell people, if you have compelling, need to know, not nice to know information, yes, it needs to be in your A+, but it also needs to be in your photo stack above the fold in case people do not go below the fold. So like this image here showing exactly what it fits is not here. It is here, but it's different, right? So that this one crayon looking thing, Logitech crayon, what if I have that and I didn't come all the way to the bottom of this page? It's not clear up here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you have to have that. It has to be very clear. Anything over here can be expanded in the A+, but if you have things in the A+ that aren't in your photo stack, I think that's definitely a big miss, because there's people like me out there that shop that don't go below the fold. Because what I kind of was leading to with that was, I often find if they had a video in here embedded in the premium A+, odds are I'm not clicking it. Right. I'm historically in the space if I don't click videos that are embedded in things when I'm shopping, unless, there's a caveat, unless it's above a certain price point or it's very technical. So if it's something that is $200 amplifier for my car, $350 piece for my washing machine, well, maybe I want to see a little bit more to make sure and reinforce that it's what I need. It's showing the technical stuff. It's showing instructions, right? Or if it's something like what my wife orders all the time is furniture that comes with 1 million pieces and throws it at me and says, here, put it together. I might want to know a little bit more about what I'm getting into. But for something that's, I see this a lot of times with like ice cream scoops or, potato peelers, and people are having videos embedded in there. Yes, I think videos nice to have, but don't always anything that's in that video. If you're giving groundbreaking information, add to cart worthy information, things people need to know, and it's in the video and not in the rest of the listing, from what I've seen, not a lot of people are going to click on the video and they're going to miss, and it's not going to be a conversion. So videos are nice to have, but make sure that all that content and data and information is out there for folks like me that don't watch video. Are you the kind of person, are you a video watcher? I mean, I have my platforms where I watch videos. Okay.
No, I'm like never really a video watcher, but again, I don't think that I fall into the typical consumer category. I would also just add with what you were saying that I would take that same philosophy throughout your entire listing. So no essential piece of information should only be in one spot.
Yeah.
Really important information should be reinforced throughout, so that no matter, because people also they don't just necessarily scroll from top to bottom if they even are a reader and going in more depth. They'll bounce around a page. And so if you're only putting something in the photos and you're not calling it out anywhere else, then that's also could be a missed opportunity. So if it's important, the kind of the way that I think about it is every part of a listing should be strong enough on its own to make the sale.
Yeah.
So the product images should have all the important call outs and benefits so that if somebody didn't look at anything else, they would want to buy them. Similar with the bullets, similar with the A+ content or premium A+ content. And so I think thinking through that lens, you don't want to just say the same thing over and over again in the exact same way, but those important details need to be woven in throughout. Because even if somebody's already read it somewhere else, then you're reinforcing it. And if it's important enough, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. So I think something really cool, and I want to show you some examples. Oh, I want to play with Rufus real quick. I know we're running close to time, but something in PickFu, right? And you're a PickFu user. You use PickFu with your clients and all this other kind of stuff. So one thing that I like to show people is I use a tool called CleanShot. And what I can do is I can just take a screenshot here of an auto scroll. So you could see over here. No, it's not doing it right. Let me fix it. What I basically want to do is I want to get a screenshot of
the whole page,
of the whole SERP. Yeah.
There's another tool you can use called Awesome Screenshot that does that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what I want to do, and of course it's dragging the whole thing down because of what Amazon. But anyway, the idea here is that if I did it correctly, what I would want to do is grab the entire PDP, right, all the way down to there. And then what I can do is I can either edit it if I need to, which is not opening right now. Oh, you see it's all wacky because of Amazon's doing this. But the idea is I want to grab the entire SERP over here, and then I would load it into PickFu, right? And what I would do is a click test. And with a click test, have you done click tests before using PickFu?
I have not.
Yeah, so with click tests, you're able, so PickFu, a lot of people think is this or that, A or B, or sometimes ranked A, B, or C. Which one do you like better? It's a lot more powerful than that, and I'll show you how. So with click, no, it's the wrong thing. I'm using my buttons all wrong. Adrian's going to fire me. With a click test, which is ideally what I wanted to do with that, we're doing something like this. So instead of putting examples up here of just one or two image, which
you're getting a heat map of.
We're getting a heat map. And you could do this for a lot of different ways, right? So product validation. Should I invest in detangling hairbrushes? If so, what should be my price point? What should be my color? What are people looking for based on a SERP snapshot? Another way to look at it is get a SERP snapshot of where you are. So maybe you're, the 3-pack over here because you're like, oh, I'm a value. I'm $8.99 for a 3-pack. But you could see where your customers are based on your ICP and demographic. Maybe they like this angle. Maybe they like this color. Maybe they like the packaging behind it, right? So it's not always this or that or this versus these, but holistically, right?
So then would you, because those two on the upper right are the best performing, would you then edit those images one at a time and see if a different color would perform just as well to identify whether it's the angle or some of the other design features of that item, or maybe that's just because that's the brand that they want? Or what I would do is I would take the data first. So I'd take a look and see here, and I would see why people are saying this. I like the design. This one's clicking on it because of the reviews. It's the original. It's more ergonomically looking, right? Versus some other people might be saying, oh, I like the color or I like the box. So I would gather all that data and I would say, okay, maybe I'm this one over here and I don't have a box. I'm clearly not getting any clicks in this click test, right? I don't have a box. I don't have my brand name on the box. I maybe need to do a better angle because a lot of people like the other angles, and I would iterate it again, right? And then what I would do is I would fix my main image, not go live with it per se, edit that SERP screenshot to put the modified version in there and run it again and see if I'm getting more clicks this time, because then it's going to be resonating better with the ICP, better with the avatar, better with the shoppers. So I think that this is here's a product sourcing way for click tests too. Nope, I lied, but this is a cool one anyway. I want to show you. So this is good for if you're looking to get in product started, like a product launch. We've seen these before, these aroma diffusers and stuff. Clearly, this person that ran this poll doesn't have all three. God, I hope not, because they're having some problems, right? But you can see that if you're looking to source a diffuser, nobody wants this shape. And this is 100, respondents that are women. So if that's your ICP, and if you go with this, that's a container's worth of aroma diffusers that are not going to sell. It could be the same product. It could work exactly the same, but people don't like that shape. It's not resonating with them. But where's my click test? Where's my other click test over here? There we go. Well, not a click test, sorry, open-ended. So this is another good way to do more open-ended kind of stuff, where if you don't want people to click per se, here's someone that's looking to source products as an open-ended, and they're looking to do baby play gyms. Which one do you like better and why? So I often find that in categories that have, I call them, what do I call them? I call them a sea of purple, because I usually reference melatonin products. Because with melatonin, it's a sea of purple for the most part, right? You're going to have like Nature's Bounty and Nature Made. Those are brick and mortar big box stores, retail brands. They're never going to change. That it is what it is. They're probably 1P. But for everyone else, everyone's leaning into the purple, right? Purple, purple, purple. How do you stand out from the crowd? So if I was new in the supplement space and I took this SERP screenshot right here
And do I need to put the capsules or the gummies outside? Am I showing enough value prop? Maybe purple's not the way to go, right? So it's for people that are looking to launch products and get into the space properly with the right footing. But then also, if you've already been a seasoned vet in the space, maybe you have other guys that are up and coming and stealing some market share on you, and you don't want to have that. So maybe it's time to pivot a little bit and change things up. And where do you land on that end of things? I know you're very by the book with Amazon, right? But seeing how a lot of this stuff is very Wild West, and I have numerous examples where Amazon themselves don't follow their rules. Where are you with, like, have you worked with supplement, brands before, and have you seen them doing these tactics? And
in terms of doing testing for what you're talking about?
No, sorry, but moreover, these added elements on standing out from the crowd, right? So like the gummies outside the packaging. Typically, Amazon says white background, just the product itself, right? Mm-hmm. But if I go to Amazon basic.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when it's your playground and you're enforcing the rules.
So here's my example right here that I'm like, oh man, it's their bowl, they'll go home if they want to, right? But like,
yeah, I would never take what Amazon is doing as a like any indication of whether you can or can't. And I would also never take what your competitors are doing as what you can or cannot do. Because the thing is that Amazon is reactionary. They're not always at the get-go making sure that everything is compliant. Sometimes they are, like if you're uploading A+ content and there's, different things that can get triggered and whatnot. But there are plenty of things where people have found ways to get around them. And so if you see a competitor and you're like, well, I thought you couldn't do that, but they're doing that, so clearly that must be the case, you could be getting yourself in a risky game. So
okay. Fair statement. I know we're running on time, but I want to show you the brand story module. There we go. Oh, beautiful. I like that. Could be using more, but okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised at how few, and that they wouldn't have their individual items
as collections,
separate brand ASIN.
Yep. Yeah, all that good stuff. When you scroll down here,
I'm also surprised that such a large brand doesn't have premium A+ content.
Questions. This is where it gets really interesting, Emma. So I know that we're down to the last couple of minutes. Do you have a hard stop?
Not a hard stop, but I don't have a ton of time to go over.
Okay, so we'll do 2 minutes over. I just want to show something cool. So typically, asking about this product, what is the recommended dose for an adult? Right, and now it's going to give me what that recommended dose is based on the content that's on the page. Mm-hmm. So here is where it gets a little, I'm going to put on my gray hat. Well, it is gray. So it's a PickFu hat. So it's a little gray hat, right? So I could say, write the top 5 search terms for this product. See, that's not correct, right? But if you give it the right prompt, you have to finesse it a little bit. So you can say, in this item, what are the high ranking terms? So highlights that are vegetarian, drug-free, non-habit forming. So the more you poke and prod at Rufus, it kind of gives away the secret sauce. And I'll tell you why. Because it's built on, so Jeff said, Amazon has taken away the zoom image and has limited the gallery image count to 5 in clothing, shoes, and jewelry suggestions. Emma, did you know about that?
No.
Yeah, that's interesting, Jeff. And welcome, Jeff. I did not know about that. For clothing, shoes. So I will say for clothing and shoes specifically is not the Wild West. It's the opposite of the Wild West. Whatever the opposite of Wild West is, you can't do main image hacks and CTRs. I strongly believe that's because of Amazon acquiring and purchasing Zappos years ago, that Amazon has their hand in it. Clothing is very, very difficult to do a lot of these tactics with as well. Even jewelry, right? So it's a lot of the categories that are Wild Westy. I'll think of a better way to say that, right? But no, I haven't heard about that, Jeff. I'll poke more and find out.
That seems so surprising to me that you wouldn't be able to zoom
on jewelry, right? Or
well, on any of the items.
Yeah. It's
I'm seeing that, but I almost wonder if that's like a glitch or something.
It could be browser related, like we kind of looked at before, or browser dependent. I don't know. We got to see. We got to put on our thinking hats here.
Doesn't seem very customer friendly.
Oh, but Amazon is the most friendliest customer company in the world, right? They gotta fix that. Write the title for this product better. It gets really cool, Emma. Product better. So it's not, this prompt didn't do it, but this is telling you what they want, right, from the titles. So even though Amazon's a little transparent with this kind of stuff, you can say, what are the highest ranked, I have to spell properly before I lose it, highest ranked search terms for this. So you see how it's not correct, but it's giving information that it probably shouldn't be giving us, right? So it's saying...
Well, I can't really read it, but I trust that that's what it's...
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can zoom in a little bit. Is that a little bit better?
Slightly better, yeah.
Okay. So it's saying best product carry, list the top products for this year. So it's not... I encourage you and anyone else, right? It's to play with Rufus a little bit more. Sounds a little weird, but play with it a little bit more to see what you can extract out of it. Because if this is indeed the LLM or whatever you want to call it that Amazon is using and pushing forward for their search and their SEO and stuff like that, the more you can kind of ask questions to it, that you can ask it questions as if you're not a shopper to see what the answers are. And this probably wasn't a good example, but there's many times where I was able to get examples that said the highest ranked search terms for this product are this, this, and this. And yeah, we could do Helium 10, Data Dive, Jungle Scout, all that kind of stuff to really see that. But it's interesting when it's first party data, right? Mm-hmm. Versus third party data. Even though those tools are pretty accurate with a lot of different things, when it's from the horse's mouth itself, you can use that to your advantage until they nerf it and turn it off. But I know we're running over time, Emma. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. It was nice to meet you at the New York City event as well. Where are you going to be next? What's next on the agenda for the rest of 2024?
Good question. I might be going to the Walmart event in August in San Francisco, but I don't have a ton of events on my agenda for the time being. I have some big projects that I'm working on that I think my time at the moment is better spent in my office than just about anywhere else. So, if people are in Vegas, I'm always happy to grab a coffee or a bite to eat.
I'm trying to think what's next in Vegas. I know that Accelerate is in Seattle and then Unboxed is in Austin. But listen, next time we splash down an event in Vegas, we're coming by, and the seafood buffets in Vegas are out of control. I will tell you that. If you've never been to a seafood buffet in Las Vegas, I don't know how they do it, but you can walk away with a tray full of crab legs for a fraction of the prices anywhere else. But Emma, tell everyone where they can follow you. I know you have a really cool kind of audit or something like that with you guys. So tell us more about that, because people are definitely interested.
Yeah, so it's down at the bottom of the screen right now, marketingbyemma.com/free analysis. And if you liked seeing me kind of dig into and tear apart some of the listings that we were looking at today, we do the same thing for you. So our team takes a look at your listing and gives you some feedback about the things that we see that are top priority in terms of addressing. And if you want to run with those and do that yourself, that's absolutely okay. Or if you would prefer our help in getting your listing up to the next level, then we're happy to explore that as well. So it's just a simple form to fill out, and we will follow up with you with some of our top observations. And I also have a YouTube channel that I've been putting a lot of energy into lately. It's youtube.com/marketing by Emma. And that has a bunch of content where I nerd out on these topics, but also broader marketing, psychology, copywriting, branding techniques that you can use to really take your business to new heights, be that on Amazon or beyond whatever channels it is that you are looking to target and focus on. So
yeah, your YouTube videos, I watched, I forgot what one it was, but your editing is on point. Whoever does your editing on your videos is really, really top notch, because normally you don't find a lot of long form videos with really good editing. Normally it's like the short form verticals that have that kind of cool stuff. So whoever your video editor is,
yeah, he's a delight to work with, and he does a really good job. So thank you for saying that.
No, I am a subscriber, and I have to say that. No. But I appreciate it. Guys, if you like the video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We are doing these every Thursday, with the exception of July 4th week, where we're celebrating the birthday of America. We will not be here that week. Next week, it's going to be me solo. We're going to be talking all about click tests. All click tests to your hearts. I'm going to put Canva aside for a second. I know I'm a very big Canva guy. I'm going to put Canva aside and really focus on click tests with PickFu. Remember, better click through with PickFu is the slogan we're going with, or test before you invest, or more click through with PickFu. We have slogans out the you know what. But thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.